Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. The day before Thanksgiving, as families across the country prepared for a cherished holiday, Washington, D.C. was rocked by a sudden and shocking act of violence near the White House. The city, usually bustling with anticipation and festive energy, was instead plunged into chaos and fear. The attack shattered the city's festive mood, leaving streets eerily quiet and residents in disbelief. Holiday decorations, once symbols of joy, now stood abandoned behind police lines, a stark reminder of how quickly peace can be upended. The violence erupted near the Farragut West Metro Station, a busy commuter hub just blocks from the seat of American power. In a matter of moments, a place known for its daily rush became the scene of panic and confusion as shots rang out and people scrambled for safety. The victims were members of the United States National Guard, deployed on a special mission to bolster security during the holiday season. Their presence, meant to reassure the public, became a tragic focal point as they were targeted in the line of duty. The attack's proximity to the White House instantly elevated it to a national security crisis. Within minutes, the area was swarming with law enforcement and emergency responders as the nation's leaders were briefed on the unfolding situation. Across the country, Americans watched in shock and disbelief as breaking news alerts flashed across screens. The ambush on uniformed service members in broad daylight sent waves of anxiety through communities, raising fears about safety and the vulnerability of even the most secure locations. Law enforcement responded with overwhelming force, locking down the White House and surrounding streets. Tactical units and officers worked through the night, securing the area and searching for any additional threats, determined to restore order and prevent further violence. The shooting was not just a crime, it was a direct assault on the symbols of American governance and democracy. Flags were lowered to half-mast, and the city mourned not only the loss of life but also the sense of security that had been so abruptly shattered. As details began to emerge, the identity of the shooter and his background would ignite a fierce national debate. Reporters and investigators worked tirelessly to piece together the motives behind the attack, while the public demanded answers and accountability. The events of November 26, 2025, would cast a long shadow over the nation, forcing urgent questions about security, immigration, and leadership. In the days that followed, the country would grapple with the implications of the attack, searching for ways to heal and to prevent such tragedies in the future. At 2:15 p.m., two West Virginia National Guard members were on routine patrol near the busy intersection of 17th and I Streets NW in Washington, D.C. The afternoon was typical, with city life bustling around them, and the soldiers remained vigilant, scanning their surroundings as they moved through the urban landscape. Suddenly, without any warning, a gunman emerged from the crowd. He approached the soldiers with clear intent, drawing a weapon and opening fire in a calculated and deliberate attack. The assailant's actions were swift and precise, leaving little time for the guardsmen to react. In an instant, chaos erupted on the street. Pedestrians screamed and scattered, running for cover as gunshots echoed between the buildings. The two guardsmen were both struck and critically wounded before their unit could mount a response, their lives hanging in the balance as the situation spiraled out of control. Fellow soldiers stationed nearby reacted immediately. They took cover and returned fire, engaging the shooter in a tense exchange that lasted only seconds but felt much longer. Their quick response was crucial, preventing the gunman from causing even more devastation among the civilians in their own ranks. The suspect was shot and subdued on the scene, brought down by the combined efforts of law enforcement and military personnel. The rapid intervention ensured that the threat was neutralized before more lives could be lost. Emergency services rushed to the scene within minutes. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize the wounded, and due to the severity of one soldier's injuries, a medical helicopter was called in to airlift him to a trauma center. The urgency of the response underscored the gravity of the situation. All three individuals involved, the two National Guard soldiers and the suspect, were transported to local hospitals in critical condition. Medical teams worked tirelessly to save their lives, as news of the attack spread rapidly through the city. The attack was a stark reminder of the dangers faced by National Guard members deployed in the heart of the nation's capital. Far from any traditional battlefield, these soldiers found themselves on the front lines of a new kind of conflict, where threats could emerge at any moment, even in the most familiar settings. Officials wasted no time in addressing the public, quickly labeling the shooting a targeted assault on the U.S. military. The calculated nature of the attack raised immediate concerns about the safety of service members and the potential for further violence. The location of the attack, just blocks from the White House, sent a chilling message. The proximity to the seat of American power suggested that the assault was not only an act of violence, but also a deliberate attempt to instill fear and uncertainty at the very heart of the nation. The ambush at Farragut West Metro Station highlighted the vulnerability of public spaces, transforming a busy commuter hub into a sudden battleground. The incident blurred the line between policing and national defense, forcing both agencies to work together in the face of an unpredictable threat. In the aftermath, the city's sense of security was shattered. Residents grappled with shock and disbelief, as familiar streets were cordoned off and the reality of the attack set in. As investigators combed the scene for evidence, the search for answers began. Authorities worked to uncover the shooter's motives, determined to understand how and why such a brazen attack could occur in the shadow of the nation's most iconic landmarks. The West Virginia National Guard's presence in D.C. was part of a months-long deployment to support law enforcement. This deployment was initiated in response to growing concerns about public safety and the need for additional security measures in the nation's capital. The National Guard was called upon to assist local law enforcement agencies in maintaining order and ensuring the safety of both residents and visitors. Over 2,100 Guard personnel were stationed in the city, providing security at federal sites and patrolling high-traffic areas. Their presence was a visible reminder of the heightened security measures in place. These men and women worked tirelessly, often in challenging conditions, to protect key locations and maintain a sense of normalcy in the city. Their mission, launched by President Trump, aimed to restore order amid concerns about rising crime. The deployment was seen as a necessary step to address the increasing incidents of violence and unrest. The National Guard's role was to support local authorities and provide a stabilizing presence during a turbulent time. The deployment was controversial, with critics calling it federal overreach, and supporters insisting it was necessary for public safety. The presence of military personnel in the streets sparked a national debate about the appropriate use of the National Guard and the balance between security and civil liberties. For many, the sight of soldiers on city streets had become routine, yet unsettling. The constant presence of armed personnel was a stark reminder of the ongoing tensions and the extraordinary measures being taken to ensure safety. The attack on November 26 exposed the risks these service members faced, operating in a complex urban environment. The incident highlighted the dangers inherent in their mission and the unpredictable nature of their deployment. The ambush was not just an attack on individuals, but a challenge to the entire mission and the administration's law and order policy. It underscored the volatility of the situation and the high stakes involved in maintaining security. The debate over the Guard's role in D.C. had suddenly turned deadly. The incident intensified discussions about the effectiveness and appropriateness of the deployment, leaving the nation to grapple with the complex issues of security, freedom, and the role of the military in civilian life. Investigators quickly identified the shooter as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national. Lakanwal had entered the U.S. in 2021 during the chaotic Afghan evacuation and was granted asylum in April 2025. His legal status, approved by the current administration, immediately became a political flashpoint. The FBI launched a terrorism investigation, probing whether Lakanwal acted alone or had ties to extremist groups. Authorities scrutinized his asylum vetting process, searching for missed warning signs. The attack reignited fears about refugees turning against their host country. Lakanwal's case became a symbol of the complex intersection between immigration, national security, and the legacy of the Afghan war. The investigation would determine if he was a lone wolf or part of a broader threat. The political fallout was swift and intense. The response to the shooting was immediate and massive. D.C. police, the Secret Service, FBI, and ATF converged on the scene, locking down the area and the White House. The FBI took charge of the terrorism investigation, while the ATF traced the weapon. National Guard members on patrol acted heroically, subduing the shooter and preventing further casualties. Emergency medical teams evacuated the wounded, including a dramatic helicopter airlift. Officials praised the swift, coordinated response that contained the crisis. The suspect's capture alive was crucial for the investigation. The city's security apparatus had been tested and held. News of the attack drew immediate statements from national leaders. President Trump, speaking from Florida, condemned the shooting as terrorism and praised the National Guard's bravery. Vice President Vance and Defense Secretary Hegseth echoed his resolve, calling the attack a reminder of the risks faced by service members. DHS Secretary Noam confirmed a full investigation into the shooter's immigration history. The administration's unified message: condemnation, resolve, and a promise of decisive action. The Trump administration responded with sweeping policy changes. President Trump announced an immediate suspension of all Afghan immigration and asylum requests, pending a full security review. He directly linked the attack to failures in previous refugee policies, making the issue intensely political. The moratorium halted thousands of pending Afghan asylum cases. The president also ordered 500 more National Guard troops to D.C., doubling down on the city's security. These moves were praised by supporters and condemned by critics, setting the stage for fierce legal and political battles. The administration's response was swift, bold, and controversial. Major breaking news like the D.C. shooting drove viewers back to trusted evening news broadcasts. ABC's World News Tonight led the ratings, drawing nearly 8 million viewers the week before the attack. The program's audience grew in key demographics, cementing its dominance. NBC nightly news trailed, but was closing the gap, especially among younger viewers. CBS Evening News remained in third, struggling to keep pace. The competition for viewers intensified as networks raced to cover the unfolding crisis. The D.C. shooting became a defining story for the evening news landscape. The Thanksgiving Eve shooting in D.C. forced America to confront tough questions about security, immigration, and the military's domestic role. The health of the wounded guardsman and the suspect remained uncertain. The FBI's investigation into Lochinwall's motives would shape future counterterrorism efforts. President Trump's asylum suspension faced legal and political challenges, pitting security against humanitarian concerns. The expanded National Guard deployment reignited debate over militarization at home. The attack exposed vulnerabilities in the nation's capital and deepened political divisions. Congressional hearings and media scrutiny were sure to follow. The story was far from over. America's struggle to balance freedom and security had entered a new, uncertain chapter.